Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome to the Fantasy Basketball Trash Talk. In this video, we're going to be talking about why you should be getting all of the Kyrie Irving stock that you can get your hands on. Let's talk about it. Why should you be buying Kyrie Irving now? Well, first of all, let's talk about values in fantasy basketball. People's perceptions of players causes their values to go up and down all the time. I have never, ever in the history of basketball seen a player's value as low as Kyrie Irving's right now. There's stories coming out saying he might not play this entire season. He does not have ING status, meaning that you can't put him on your injured reserve unless you have an IR plus. He is just sitting there with a giant X carrying a roster spot, causing people to lose week one, and they might have spent a second round, third round, fourth round pick, depending on when their draft was, because he started to slide as we got closer and closer to the season starting. First of all, I want to talk about who Kyrie Irving is before we talk about what he is or what he isn't. Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal basketball player. I have basketballmonster.com's rankings based on Z-scores. A Z-score is how much better you are than the average person in that category. Last year, in 54 games in a shortened season, Kyrie Irving was the third best player in category fantasy basketball. He was the third best player. Another way of visualizing that is based on Z-score. Kyrie Irving was a .68, with the best player being Nikola Jokic, okay? How good is a .68 Z-score? Well, the 12th best player, Karl Anthony Towns, was a .46, meaning Kyrie was about 50% better per game than Karl Anthony Towns. But it gets even crazier than that. Kyrie was worth about 2 Chris Pauls last year. Kyrie was worth 3 Kristaps Porzingises. I know that's not exactly right, but it's pretty close. Kyrie was worth 6 John Collins. That's how good Kyrie Irving was when it comes to irreplaceability. And if you're saying, well, Josh, that's not true. I can play 6 John Collins. I'd get way more production. Yeah, but you're using 6 roster spots. And the thing that's really hard to account for is top production out of 1 roster spot. Kyrie Irving is a 50, 40, 90 player. So, getting back on track because we talked about what he is. Why is his value so low? Why is his value so low? Well, number one, because of fear. People are afraid that the worst is going to happen. People get shaky hands in fantasy basketball and they go, well, what if he doesn't play the entire season? Number 2 reason is politics. Kyrie Irving is not vaccinated. I am vaccinated. Vaccination has become a political issue. If someone says they're not vaccinated, you can pretty much guess who they don't like politically. People have divided up on the aisle. And it's a really complicated issue that I'm not going to talk about here, but more than 2/3 of people are vaccinated in America, which means that more than 2/3 of people disagree with Kyrie Irving, which means they don't like him right now, which means his value is even lower. Misunderstanding of value. Okay, a first rounder is not worth a second rounder and a fifth rounder. A first rounder is not worth a first rounder. Relative value, okay? I'm going to go back to Basketball Monster for a second. The difference between the top 4 or 5 guys and that last first rounder, who was really Miles Turner, because we can't count Kyrie Thomas because he didn't have enough games played. So 12th best player last year was Miles Turner, who was less than half as good. A first rounder does not equal a first rounder. There are tiers of players. People don't understand how good Kyrie is when he plays. The chance of Kyrie Irving playing, if you can get him on your team, it's like not just adding another first rounder if he plays. It's like adding a top 6 player per game. And yeah, he's going to miss some games, but your chance of winning your league, if he plays, more than doubles. It probably triples. In an evenly distributed league, 12 team, each player has a 1 in 12 chance of winning. If you take an average team that is perfectly fair draft and you just add a third best player in the league, Kyrie Irving, to that team does not win the league 1 out of 12 times. That team wins the league 5 or 6 out of 12 times. It wins the league 50% of the time. It's not an unbeatable team because of matchups and injuries, but you're going to win way more than you lose when you add a third or fourth or fifth best player in the league to a team for nothing. Misunderstanding of value, okay? Finally, his injury history. Kyrie's a guy that has a hard time staying healthy, which is even why I'm higher on buying him right now, because his odds of getting hurt right now are 0. Every week that he misses is a week that he's not getting hurt. That's less games for wear and tear on his body. That is why his value is so low. Why buy him? Well, number one, he's a category god. If you're watching this video right now and you're in a points league, first of all, I'm sorry for you that you haven't played adult fantasy basketball yet. Go check out categories. It's a lot better. It's a lot more fun. But this video is about category leagues, okay? And Kyrie Irving is a fantasy god in category leagues. He's still good in points, but he's a god in categories. So if you're playing in category, this video is for you. You need to get your hands on Kyrie Irving, okay? So reasons why to buy him. One, he will help you win your league if I am right. If you gamble and Kyrie Irving comes back in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, if he comes back in January, you have a better chance of winning your league than any other 4 teams in your league if you had a fair draft. The next reason, and if it's wrong, if I'm wrong, you're going to lose like a 7th rounder or an 8th rounder, which happens all the time. Last year, I won a league, and my 8th round pick, 9th round pick, 12th round pick were busts, okay? You do not need to hit every single one of your 12 or 13 draft picks in order to win. Okay, this man has 200 million reasons to play. Kyrie Irving is currently not being offered an extension that would be worth about $200 million by the Brooklyn Nets. $200 million. Think about his agent. Think about his wife if she likes money. Think about his family, his nephews that want to have their kids' college tuition paid for, okay? If Kyrie Irving plays a couple games and signs an extension, he has $200 million on the line. Kyrie Irving sits out this season. I've heard people saying he's going to lose 16, 17 million. That is not true. He's going to lose 16, 17 million, end his extension, which means the 5-year max, which means the bird rights the Nets have. He could potentially lose $200 million if he retires. No one has ever walked away. Dave Chappelle made history for walking away from like $40, $50 million. No one has ever walked away from $200 million before. Bet $200 million that he's going to come back and play. Kyrie Irving, for all of his things, I'll say this about Kyrie, and this is why I like Kyrie, okay? Kyrie Irving does what he believes in. I might not agree with his positions, but this is a man of conviction. Too often in this world, there are people that they do something they don't believe in because of money, because of politics, whatever it is. Kyrie Irving, he walks to the beat of his own drum, and I can respect that. But guess what? This man loves the game. He's like 6'1", 6'2". He's had a basketball in his hand since he could walk. When you look at the things he does with a basketball, this is not a guy who it's just his job. This is not Andrew Bynum, okay? Basketball is my job. This is not Andrew Wiggins. Basketball is my job. This is Kyrie fucking Irving, okay? Basketball is his life. This man is not going to sit on the sidelines for a year and watch his friends try to win a championship and not join them. Finally, remember, the Nets have never said they're not going to play Kyrie Irving until he gets vaccinated. They have just said they're not going to play Kyrie Irving until they can be a full participant. But COVID regulations change. The emergency measures around the vaccine and around the mandates, they might get pulled back. There's going to be a new mayor in New York City most likely. And he's already on the record as saying that he wants to work something out with the city with Kyrie Irving. If anyone deserves a religious exemption or a belief exemption, it's Kyrie Irving. This man really believes it, okay? These are all the reasons why you should buy him. If any of this is right, he's going to be back in time for your playoffs. He's going to be a monster. Okay, how do I value him? Who should I give up when I'm trading for him? Well, every league is going to be different, but let me tell you this first of all. Do you have an ING plus spot? Because if you have an ING plus spot, I'd be willing to go up to a 6th rounder or a 5th rounder to get Kyrie Irving. I would trade Kyle Lowry for Kyrie Irving in a heartbeat. I'd trade Jeremy Grant in a category league for Kyrie Irving in a heartbeat. I would trade, maybe DeMar DeRozan for Kyrie Irving in a heartbeat. You're talking about your people in like the really, I'd start around 50 and then go down. If you can buy him up for someone you drafted 80, if you can trade your Nerlens Noel, probably not. If you can trade your Ricky Rubio for a Kyrie Irving, take it and run. Now, that's if you have an ING plus spot where you can slot him into your injured reserve. If he's going to take up a roster spot, then we need to have a really serious conversation because while he's still really valuable, it's going to be very complicated, okay? He will not be able to help you if you don't make the playoffs. So if you're trading for him in a league where he's just going to sit and carry a dead roster spot, good news, his value is going to be lower, so you can get him for maybe a 10th rounder or an 11th rounder, or he might even just get cut, and you can get him with your number 1 waiver spot or a bunch of FAAB, okay? If you're going to have to carry a dead roster spot for maybe till January, okay, you need to make sure that if you're losing your weeks, you're not losing 2-7 or 3-6. You need to be losing 4-5 as much as possible. So the types of teams that I would look for are making sure that I can make another trade and go really strong into a punt to where I don't need to score a lot of points or I don't need to get a lot of rebounds. Like, pick a category that you know you're going to lose. Like, for example, assists. If you lose assists, you usually win turnovers, which gives you more room to stream more players that rebound. So you can kind of try to put a big man thing together. Remember, you're going, how do I lose the minimum amount of points every week? What you can't let happen is try to compete head-to-head with a dead roster spot and you lose 1-8. Because when you lose 1-8, you're going to put yourself in a hole really fast where you're not in playoff contention by the time you get Kyrie back. So, yeah, can you mitigate your losses, right? So if you have a really good team, if you had a killer draft and you can get Kyrie Irving, and you can go 5-4, 5-4, 4-5, 4-5, 5-4 over the next 6 weeks, you bought yourself a lot of time where a lot of stuff could happen. And if you need to cut him, go ahead and cut him. You lost the gamble. It was a small gamble. Instead of being the 2 seed or the 1 seed in your league, you're going to be the 3 seed or the 5 seed. But if he comes back, rings, baby, rings. And that's the kind of gamble that you should be taking early in the season. Also, can you train someone who's unsustainably hot? I love Jordan Poole, but he's not going to look the same at the end of the season when defenses have had time to adjust to him. He's got a good bag, but besides deep shooting and the in-and-out dribble, I haven't seen him show a counter move, right? Someone like Steph Curry has moves on moves on moves. I don't know if Jordan Poole has that yet. When defenses have a chance to adjust, he's going to have a harder back half of the season. Plus, you have Klay Thompson returning, other people that need to be fed. So can you take a player that's unsustainably hot and trade him for Kyrie Irving? That's what I would try to do. Okay, guys, that's it for this video. Comment, tell me what you're getting Kyrie Irving for. Tell me what you'd be willing to trade him for. Let's have a discussion about it. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.